In July of 1936, in the white farmhouse on County Road 6 outside Tipton, Indiana, my grandmother Della kept her kitchen cool enough to set a dish of butter on the noon table, and she did it without a single machine. There was no air conditioner on that road, none in the whole county, and my grandmother's cooling bill for that entire blazing summer came to exactly nothing, not one nickel. What kept the house livable were the cheap old tricks that beat the summer heat and cut your power bill with no AC needed, the same ones I am going to give you today. 4 free habits a farmhouse ran on 100 years before anybody could buy their way out of July. Now walk into your own house on a July afternoon. Your air conditioner has been running since 9 this morning, and it has not shut off once. The thermostat says 76, and it is losing, because the sun has been pouring through your west window since 2 o'clock, and the oven you ran at noon is still handing its heat back to the room, and the cold air you paid good money for is sliding out through every gap the builder left around your doors. The power company bills you for every hour of that fight. And here is the part they would rather you never sit still long enough to think about. Your air conditioner is not fighting the sun. It is fighting the heat you let into the house yourself, this morning, for free. So that is where we begin. These are 4 habits, 4 everyday money-saving tricks that were plain common sense in every house on this road once, and have all but died out in a single generation. The first turns away 1/3 of the summer sun right at the glass. The second seals 15% of your cooling money back inside your own walls. The third stops you from heating the very house you are paying good money to cool. And the fourth is the one my grandmother did for free every night of her life. The one the power company most hopes your kids never learn. Hit subscribe and pull up a chair, because on this porch we spend less, waste nothing, and keep the old money-saving wisdom the power company would rather you forget. There is one thing you have to understand before any of this works, and my grandmother understood it without anyone ever teaching it to her in a school. A window is the thinnest wall in your house. Everywhere else, the sun hits brick or siding or a foot of insulation and gives up. At the glass, it walks straight in. On a bright afternoon, a bare west-facing window is not a window at all. It is a small, open furnace door, pouring heat into a room you are paying a machine to cool. You would never leave the oven door hanging wide in a heat wave. A sunny bare window in the afternoon is the very same mistake, and most of us make it every single day and never once see it. So, the first habit is the simplest one there is, and it is free. You close the curtains against the sun before the sun gets to them, not after the room is already hot, before. In Della's house, the roller shades on the south and the west windows came down at 10 in the morning, while the kitchen was still cool from the night, and they stayed down through the worst of the day. She was not making the room dark to be gloomy. She was turning the thinnest wall in the house back into a wall. Now here is the number, and it is a real one, straight from the Department of Energy's own guidance on window coverings. Medium-coloured draperies with a white plastic backing, closed against a sunny window, cut the heat coming into that room by 33%. 1/3 of it. Gone, turned away at the glass, for the price of standing up and pulling a cord. 1/3 of the summer sun that would otherwise become heat, your air conditioner has to hunt down and haul back out of the house, one expensive hour at a time. And you follow the sun around the house as it travels. In the morning it is the east windows that need covering, before the kitchen wakes up hot. By early afternoon the sun swings around to the south and then to the west, and those west windows are the ones that will cook a room right through supper if you leave them bare. Della did not shade the whole house at once, like closing up a store for the night. She shaded whichever side the sun was beating on, and left the shady side open for what little breeze the day offered. You do not need special curtains to start. Any curtain you already own, closed, beats glass left bare to the sky. But if you are going to buy, the colour matters more than the fabric. A light backing facing the window throws the sunlight back before it ever enters the room. A heavy, dark drape with no backing soaks the heat up and radiates it right back at you by supper. My grandma's shades were a plain cream colour on the window side for exactly that reason, though I doubt she could have told you the physics of it. She just knew the light ones kept the room cooler because she had lived in both kinds of room and paid attention. I've pulled the west shades in my own kitchen at 10 every summer morning for 50 years, the same hour Della pulled hers, and the mornings I get busy and forget, I can feel by 3 in the afternoon. The room that had its shades drawn is still livable. The room I left open is 4 or 5 degrees warmer, and my air conditioner is roaring to make up the difference. Same house, same day, same machine. The only thing that changed is a cord I forgot to pull. This is where the whole racket falls apart if you look at it straight on. The appliance industry spent 70 years teaching us that the only answer to a hot house is a bigger unit and a colder setting. Crank it down, buy more machine. Nobody ever ran an advertisement telling you to close your curtains, because there is no money in a curtain. There is a great deal of money in a house that fights the sun all day long with a compressor. My grandmother turned away a third of the July heat with a piece of cloth and a habit. The appliance business would rather sell you that third back, cold, by the month, for the rest of your life. The second habit is about protecting everything the first one just saved, because it does you no good to keep the sun out of the room all day if the cool air you have is quietly sliding out through the walls while you do it. And it is. Right now, in most houses, conditioned air is leaking out around the window frames, under the doors, along the baseboards, through every little gap the builder never troubled to close. You are cooling the crack between your window frame and your wall. Out past that, you are cooling the yard. The fix is the cheapest thing in the whole hardware store. A tube of caulk runs about $5. A roll of foam weatherstripping is a few dollars more. That is the entire bill. Della sealed her farmhouse with rags and paper and a paste she cooked on the stove, stuffed into every gap before winter. But the principle has not moved 1 inch in 100 years. You seal the shell of the house, so the air you cooled, whether the shade cooled it or a machine did, stays on your side of the wall. Here is what that sealing is worth. And this figure comes straight from the Environmental Protection Agency, not from me. A homeowner who seals up those air leaks and adds insulation saves, on average, 15% on heating and cooling. 15% off the top of the bill that scares you every August, for 1 afternoon of work and about $8 of materials. That is not a rebate you have to apply for. That is not a new unit you have to finance. It is a caulk gun and a Saturday. The way you find the leaks is with the back of your hand. On a hot day, with the AC running, run your hand slow around every window frame, along the bottom of every door, where the baseboard meets the floor, on an outside wall. You will feel the warm air pushing in exactly where the cool is pushing out. That is money moving through the wall. The worst offenders are almost always the same handful of spots: the bottom corners of doors, the frame of an old single-pane window, and any place a pipe or a wire runs through an outside wall. Della found hers by feel and by candle flame, watching to see which way the flame leaned when she held it near the frame. You can do the same today with a stick of incense, or with nothing but a wet hand. Where the parts do not move, the window frame, the baseboard, you press caulk into the gap. Where the parts do move, the door edge, the window sash, you use the felt or the foam weather strip, so it still opens and closes. I do my whole caulk walk one Saturday every fall, flashlight in hand, and it pays me back every single August without my lifting another finger. Remember the shades from the first habit. The shades keep the heat from ever entering the room. The caulk keeps the cool from ever leaving it. One works on the sun, the other works on the walls, and together they mean the machine you paid for is not bailing a boat with a hole in the bottom. Because that is what most air conditioners are doing all summer long. Bailing. Running flat out against a house that leaks as fast as it cools. There is one heads up here that matters, and it is simple. Never seal a vent that is meant to breathe. A dryer vent, a combustion vent, a fresh air intake. Those are open on purpose, and you leave them alone. Seal the accidents, not the design. Everything else, the gap under the door, the daylight you can see around a window frame, was never ventilation to begin with. It is just cool air you already paid to make, walking straight back out through a hole you could close for $8. The third habit is the one nobody thinks of as a cooling trick at all, and it is the one Della was strictest about. Stop making heat inside the house during the hours you are trying hardest to keep it cool, because your house does not only heat up from the sun, it heats up from you. Every burner you light, every oven you run, every dryer you tumble in the middle of a July afternoon is a little furnace you switched on inside the very room you are paying to chill. Then the air conditioner has to find that heat and carry it back out, same as it does the sunshine, and you pay for the making of it and the removing of it, both. My grandma cooked with the clock, not against it. In a heat wave she did her baking in the cool dark before dawn, or she did not bake at all. Supper on the hottest days was cold on purpose, food set by early and served at room temperature, because she was not about to fire a wood cook stove at 5 in the afternoon and turn her kitchen into a forge while the family was trying to eat in it. She had a wood range that threw real heat, so she respected it. We have ovens and dryers that throw the very same heat, and we run them at high noon without a second thought, because the machine in the window hides the cost until the bill lands in the mailbox. So you move the heat making to the edges of the day. Run the oven after the sun goes down, when the house is already shedding heat and the cool night is coming on, instead of at 2 in the afternoon, when you are already fighting the sun and the walls. Run the dishwasher and the clothes dryer late, or better yet, hang the wash on a line and skip the dryer's heat entirely, the way it was done on every farm in that county. And when it is truly brutal out, cook cold. A cold supper on a 100-degree day is no hardship at all. Some days it is the smartest meal in the house. The oven and the clothes dryer are the two biggest heat makers in the modern house by a mile, so those two are the ones to move after dark before you worry about anything else. For the meals you still want warm, there are cooler ways to get there. A slow cooker throws a fraction of the heat an oven does, and it can sit out on a porch or a back step and cook all day without ever touching the temperature of your kitchen. A single burner beats a full oven, and a plate of cold ham and sliced tomatoes, bread and butter and cold beans has fed a farm family through a heat wave, for longer than anybody on that road had owned a stove. I bake my bread at 9 o'clock at night now, in the dark, and my kitchen never once heats up while it does. There is a quieter thing underneath all of this too. The default we have all been trained into is that when the house feels hot, you get up and walk to the thermostat and push the number down. Just crank it down. That is the only move most of us were ever taught, and it is the most expensive one in the house, because it does nothing about the sun coming in, or the oven running, or the leaks in the wall. It only tells the machine to work harder against every one of them at once. Della never had that button to push. What she had instead was a set of habits so good that having the button would not have changed a thing about her day. Every one of these is a thing you do with your hands and your timing, and not a thing you buy. Della ran her whole kitchen this way, not because she was saving the planet or trying to make a point, but because she had no other choice on that road in 1936, and the habits turned out to be so good that having a choice later never once made them worth dropping. And now, the fourth habit, the one I told you my grandmother did every night of her life, the one the power company most wishes you had never been born knowing. You flush the whole day's heat out of the house at night, and you pull the cool night air in to take its place, for free, while you sleep. The rhythm of it is the exact opposite of the daytime rhythm, and that reversal is the whole trick. All day you kept the house shut up, shades down, doors sealed, holding on to the cool you had. Then the sun drops, and outside the air begins to cool off faster than the house does. That is your moment. When the evening air is cooler than the air inside your rooms, you open the house up. Windows up on opposite sides of the house so the air moves through it and does not just sit in one room. A window cracked in the bedroom on one side, another open across from it, and the whole night's coolness comes drifting through and carries the day's heat out the far side. Della did it like clockwork. When the sun dropped behind the barn, the windows went up all through the house, front and back, and the cool came down off the fields and moved straight through the place all night long. She cracked the sleeping room windows an inch or two, even on the cooler nights, because she believed, and she was right, that a sealed-up bedroom makes you sick and restless by morning. Then, and this is the part people forget, she closed the whole house back up at first light, before the day could touch it, and pulled the shades down again. She trapped the cool of the night inside the walls and lived off it through the heat of the day. Open at night to catch the cool, shut by day to keep it. That is the entire engine, and it never cost her 1 red cent. If your night air sits still and will not move on its own, one box fan set in a downwind window, blowing out, will pull the whole house full of cool in behind it, and it draws pennies against what a compressor pulls to do far less. Della had no fan for most of those years. What she had was a screen door on both ends of the house, and the plain geometry of open windows facing each other, and on a good night the breeze walked in the front room and out the back like it had somewhere it needed to be. This is not only farm habit either. Back in 1869, 2 sisters named Catherine Beecher and Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote it down plainly in a book about running a household. Tight sleeping rooms, they wrote, closed up and airless, was starving and poisoning more than half of this nation. They meant it about health, about breathing, but the very same open window that lets you breathe clean at night is the one that flushes the heat and pulls the cool in behind it. Fresh air and a cool house turned out to be one habit, not 2. People knew this and wrote it down more than 150 years ago, decades before the first air conditioner was ever bolted into anybody's window. Now put the four together, because they were always meant to run as one thing, not four separate ones. You shut the sun out at the glass in the morning and keep a third of the heat from ever entering. You seal the shell so the cool does not leak away and hold 15% of the bill inside the walls. You quit making heat indoors during the hot hours, and you throw the whole house open at night to flush out what heat is left and bank the cool for the next day. Do all four, and your air conditioner, if you even reach for it, switches on to a house that is already halfway cool, runs a fraction of the hours, and costs a fraction of the money. That is the summer bill Della never once paid, because she ran the 4 habits and never owned the machine. You have the machine. The habits are what decide whether it runs 12 hours a day or 2. My grandmother kept a whole farmhouse full of people livable through an Indiana July with a set of shades, a caulking of rags, a cold supper, and a night breeze. Not one of those 4 things had a plug on it. The power company has spent your whole life selling you the idea that comfort comes out of a wall socket and arrives once a month on a bill. Your grandmother's whole generation knew that comfort came from paying attention to your own house, hour by hour, and that it came for free. None of this is a reason to rip the air conditioner out of the window. I am not telling you to suffer, and neither would my grandmother if she were sitting right here. When the heat turns dangerous, and some days it truly does, you use the machine and you are glad you have it. The point was never to go without. The point is to stop letting the machine fight a battle you could have won for free before breakfast, so that when it does run, it runs light, and the bill at the end of August is one you can look at without your stomach dropping. So start tomorrow morning. Pull the shades on the sunny side before 10. Feel the walls for leaks this weekend and close what you find. Move the baking to after dark, and tomorrow night, when the air outside finally goes soft and cool, open your house up and let it breathe the way that farmhouse on County Road 6 breathed every summer night for 50 years. 4 habits, no machine required, and a power bill that finally has your name on it instead of theirs. Before you go, I want to hear from you, because every family had their own version of this. What did your family do to stay cool before air conditioning? Tell me the one trick that actually worked down in the comments, and I promise I will read every one. This is Granny Pearl, and I will leave the porch light on for you.